Since the start of my YouTube channel, I've always filmed every single one of my videos in the same house or apartment that my wife and I have lived in. Now, before I had a kid, this was usually in the living room because I liked the depth that it provided, given it was usually the largest room in the house. But as you'd expect, having a kid means filming in the living room really isn't an option. So when we were moving at the end of last year, I had to make sure that the apartment had a third bedroom that would act as not only my office, but also my filming studio. So we signed the lease, we moved all of our furniture in, I set up my office, put my camera in place, but it looked like garbage. I tried from this angle, but with the blinds open, there was no way to nicely expose both my face and what was outside the window there. Blind closed, and now it looks ugly. Well, I couldn't do it this way because of that mirror behind me. But then I landed on this shot, which I still use from time to time in some of my videos. The trouble is, I don't want this sort of a shot for every single one of my videos because I really only want to use it when I'm actually talking about something that's on my computer, which isn't all that often. So I started panicking, but I logged into YouTube, I searched up a bunch of inspiration, and after a couple of days of going back and forth, I was finally able to achieve this shot. And this has been my main A-roll shot for the last year. So let's look at how you can do this yourself. The first thing you'll want to grab is a backdrop. Now there are heaps and heaps of options to choose from online, like paper, vinyl, muslin, and so forth. And they're all great for differing purposes, but I wanted something a little more lightweight and minimal. So naturally I got this block out roller blind in black from IKEA. It actually comes in a few different shades, which is nice, but it's called the Tupler, and I got mine in the longest length possible, which is 200 by 195 centimeters. But the best part is that it only costs $50. So I screwed that into the roof and boom, there was my backdrop. So as you can see, I placed this just in front of my computer desk, which means I'm able to use this space as a filming set for my A-roll, but also as an office for all of my video editing. So now, it was time to bring in the lights. I had previously been using the Falcon Eyes SO28TD as my key light, which I would also shoot through a diffusion panel, but the issue in such a small space as this is that it spills just about everywhere, including onto my backdrop, which is not what I wanted. So instead, I picked up the Godox SL60W, which comes with its own softbox, and this is an overall smaller sized package compared to the Falcon Eyes setup with the diffusion panel as well. Then after experimenting, I decided to take the black outer material that the diffusion panel comes in with the 5-in-1 reflector kit and actually use it to flag off half of the light coming out of the Godox light, which means the only half that was outputting light would hit my face and not the background. Now, flaking light is a super neat lighting technique that is actually worth spending some time practicing, but doing it the traditional way with C-stands and flagging sheets and whatnot can actually take up a fair amount of size. Using my method might not look very glamorous, but it helps to retain that really small form factor, which is perfect for a tiny bedroom such as this one. Here it is without the flag in place, and now with the flag in place. From there, it's onto the backlight. So for the longest time, I've been using this budget-friendly light from Aperture called the AL-H198C, though I'm pretty sure it's been discontinued now, so I'll link some alternatives below. But this is a fantastic little bicolor light that now works perfectly as a backlight. The only issue is this space is so tight that it flares like crazy on the side of the frame. Oh man, never did I think I'd be shooting from this angle in a video on my channel. But anyway, as you can see, it's right up against the wall as far as it can be moved over. So the only option left was to flag it. I've got this cheap pinboard material that I purchased from a local hardware store here in Australia. I'll link some online options below, but to be honest, you can use almost anything, cardboard, paper, as long as you can mount it upright and on an angle. So I'll literally place a second table that I have in my office below that, angle it just right, and bam, that flaring is gone. But you can see the next issue that we have, right? So to remove it from the frame, I take the groundbreaking approach of picking up the camera and moving it in. And there you go. So what you're seeing right now is literally just about the widest angle that I can shoot from in this space. And whilst it's definitely not ideal, it is what it is, and you kind of get used to being somewhat limited. As well as that, the backdrop also doesn't give me much flexibility to go wider either. So these are just the sacrifices that you have to make when you're working on a tight budget and in a small room like this. In fact, I now shoot all of my A-roll sequences with this cheap 50mm f1.8 lens from Canon, and I pretty much cannot use any other lens that I own. My 85mm is too tight. My 24mm is too wide. So the 50mm is just in that sweet spot. I do think a 35mm lens could be a really nice option for getting a slightly wider field of view without seeing the backdrop, but I just haven't gotten around to picking one up yet. Anyway, the last piece of this puzzle is this background light. Originally, I was using this second aperture AL light as my background light, which meant I could only get a white light ranging between 3200 and 5600 Kelvin. But recently, I purchased the Aperture MC RGB video light, which means now I can get any color of the rainbow that I like. And that is how you can transform a tiny little bedroom into a full-time YouTube filming studio, which, in my humble opinion, looks pretty polished. Whilst I love being able to use real backgrounds and props in my A-roll sets, sometimes you've just got to play the hand that you've been dealt. And since using this setup for the last 10 months or so, I've actually kind of fallen in love with the look of it. And I'll probably continue using a somewhat similar setup even when I move in the future, which just quietly is happening very soon. But anyway, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and got something out of it, then let me know by leaving a thumbs up. But that's it. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will catch you later.